Good morning, class. My name is Professor Nathan Steele, and welcome to our online ethics course. Today we're just going to have a very quick kind of intro to the course. We're going to be looking at our Blackboard, which is what I have up right now. We're going to look at the syllabus, and then we're going to call it a day. We're going to keep this lesson kind of short and sweet, just an introduction to what's going to be going on and covering some of the basic assumptions I have for you. And we'll go from there. So, for those of you that have not used Blackboard a whole lot, if you're watching this video lecture, it means you've already been able to log on to the course, which is step one, big step there. And you've already been able to find the video lecture tab. So that too, step two, great. Some of the things that we'll be using regularly on our Blackboard will be the announcements tab. We'll be sending out regular announcements. You'll be getting them in your email as well. So if you are getting announcements and you're checking your emails on a regular basis, you'll see them. Otherwise, you can just come here to reference them under this announcement tab. And that's where you'll be able to find all sorts of information, like when course content has been posted, anything special, like when our papers or midterms or study guides, all these things are coming up that might be extra. So you want to make sure you're looking at the announcements every now and then. We will also have our video lecture tab. Let me show it the way you guys see it. We have our video lecture tab. This is where you'll find all the lectures for the week. And I'm going to keep the lectures up throughout the semester. Those are going to be one thing that do not go down. Quizzes, assignments, those will disappear after a certain time period, but the video lectures will be up all the time throughout the course for referencing. This week, we don't have any assignments, but henceforth, every week after this, once we're getting into the meat of our content, we will have weekly assignments. They're going to be in the form of basically like a short essay that I want you guys doing every single week. And it's going to be something that's kind of prepping us for the midterm, prepping us for the final, and getting us to interact a little bit outside of just the theories of ethics, but looking at the praxis of ethics. So, we also will have our discussion board. I know some teachers do this differently, where they have each of you guys make your own threads. I like to kind of keep it consolidated so that we all see what each other is posting. So we're basically going to have one thread every week, and everyone is going to post in it. So like this week, we have the discussion board for class introductions. You're just going to click on this. You're going to look at the little note, and then you're just going to hit reply. And we'll be able to keep it kind of consolidated so that everyone sees everyone's posts and responses. So our discussion board is a place where that we can all kind of like talk freely. So I strongly encourage us to not only just post your content, but read what other people are posting and respond to what other people are posting. Oh, do you like what they're saying? Do you disagree with what they're saying? Let us know. Respectfully, of course. If you think someone's wrong ever and disagree with them, make sure that we are responding respectfully with each other, which usually is not a problem. The next thing we want to look at, and there is nothing here yet, there won't be anything here next. Actually, yes, there will. We will be having a quiz next week. It'll kind of just be a quiz over our syllabus so that everyone makes sure they take the time to look at the syllabus, because that's kind of important. But we will be having weekly quizzes. We will have a midterm. We will have a final. If anyone has had one of my classes before, quizzes are very just straightforward tools for helping you to remember the content that we covered the week prior. So usually it's like 4 to 5 questions, all just straightforward, like what is the main idea of what's been going on. So it's not something that you're going to have to necessarily study for. But instead it's something that you're going to be using to refresh your memory on what we've just studied. So, our textbook. So, This is our textbook here. It's Ethics by Barbara McCannon. It's actually a really cool textbook. The thing I like about it, and the thing I think you guys are going to like about it, is that it is brief. It does a great job of taking these kind of complex arguments, complex ideas, and then boiling them down into terse and simplistic explanations. So that, if we were going to explain something like moral egoism, you could do it in 50 pages or you can do it in 5 pages. McCannon has a great way of being able to take all these 50-page topics and kind of give us a teaser and an explanation in 5 pages. And so that's great because it means the workload that you guys have to do on a weekly basis, you're not going to have to spend 2 hours reading textbooks a week. Instead, you're probably going to have to spend 30 minutes getting through a chapter. And so I know you guys will all appreciate that. But yeah, Barbara McCannon does a great job of kind of summarizing a lot of the main ethical theories that we will be talking about. To get access to the book, we go to our Red Shelf, and once we log in, I do believe that we don't have to put in codes per se anymore, but that each account is automatically uploaded with the books that we will have for that semester. So then you just click on View eBook. Stay here. And then for anyone that hasn't used Red Shelf a whole lot, we have this navigation where you can bring up the table of contents. And you can even go directly to the chapter that we are looking at. I would like you guys to go ahead and try to read this first chapter for the week. It's probably the longest chapter, but we don't have any other content to do this week, so hopefully you guys will be able to get that done. Because next week we will be jumping straight into ethical relativism. So yeah, make sure that we're trying to sit down and take a little time and do this reading for this week. So, what else is important here? Important things to note under the library, and this may be something that everyone is telling you, but we now have access to the EBSCO library, which is a really great online resource. We have our user ID right here. And our password is in fact password. Ooh, okay, we'll have to check on that later. But yeah, EBSCO, we'll have to check with that at school, but once we have access to that, that should be actually really cool. It's a great database for finding articles and books and doing research for your projects that you have in a lot of your other classes. In our class, fortunately, we shouldn't have that many research projects because the type of stuff that we would do for research is oftentimes going to be relegated to real-world experience. That's kind of the cool thing about ethics, is that rather than saying we need to connect it to other ideas, I'm much more interested in you connecting the theories that we discuss with your own lives. So, without further ado, I think that's the last of the most important stuff. Without further ado, let's go ahead and look at our syllabus. So, the best way, you can see here, I have my email address. The best way to get a hold of me is going to be through email. I do check my email several times a day. If for some reason you haven't heard back from me after a couple days, just resend an email and I'll then get back to you. Sometimes, if I get a bunch of emails and I check them off over what's the most urgent, right now this person's house is on fire, unless I send them an email, versus just answering a little question. Sometimes I'll prioritize and then skip and not get back to it. And so yeah, if you have a question and for some reason you don't hear from me after a day or two, feel free to send me another email. You're not bothering me. It's literally what I'm here for, to help you guys out, to give you guys good responses. So Definitely, be on the ball when it comes to trying to reach out and communicate. If you have questions about the course, you're gone for a week, so you can't do material. The best thing to do always is going to be to email me. So that is going to be the primary mode of communication between us. So we're just going to read through a little bit of this syllabus right here. So as the catalog description from our college catalog says, this is a survey course is an introduction to the study of the elements of ethics, including the principal ethical theories, concepts, and meanings, and their practical application to moral problems and decisions. The important thing to note here is, again, this kind of dichotomy between theory and application. So we're going to be spending basically like the first kind of half of each course looking at theory, and then we're also going to be spending the second half kind of looking at application. Our assignments are going to be heavily application driven to look at how things are affecting our real world scenario, looking at politics, looking at finances. And then the second half of the course, we're going to be spending some time looking not just at theories, but how these theories are being modernized and challenged in the world today. We always can look at the course outcomes of all general education courses. That's something you should probably get from a couple different classes. Now, the instructor assumptions. It is my assumption that students will check their emails daily and participate at least 5 times a week in an online course. So you can do this all at once, do this in one night, but you will want to be checking your email regularly, and there are several things to do each week. We have a video lecture each week, a quiz each week, a discussion board each week, an announcement each week, and then an assignment each week. So checking on all those things is 5 times a week. Whether you do that all in one sitting or whether you do that throughout the week, that's kind of the flexibility and the strength of an online course where you can learn material and be guided through a college class without necessarily having to do it all at once as you would in an in-class format. So there are essentially like 5 different things you need to do each week, so you want to be making sure that you're staying on top of that. It is my understanding that students will be online in their course daily, and their course will equal at least a minimum of 3 hours a week. That is pretty standard. When we say 3 hours a week, just like if you were in class, that's 3 hours a week, but there also is homework on top of that. I don't want you guys to get the assumption or the idea that an online course is somehow going to be less rigorous, less demanding than an in-class. The way I've designed this course is almost identical to the way I taught it when I was teaching it at McCormick in class. The textbook is the same, the readings are the same, the lectures are the same, and so everything kind of like mirrors each other. There's nothing new about this. So it is modeled after that in class, where we're in class for 3 hours a week, but I do have expectations that you guys will be doing other things on top of that in a homework type format. It is also my assumption that students will be doing their own work, will be diligent, respectful, and courteous to me and other students, and the students will be hardworking, honest, and participate in learning experience. It is very important to note here when we talk about doing our own work, we're going to cover the little section on plagiarism in a bit. That is occasionally an issue, and so it's one that we're definitely going to have to discuss. Also need to discuss the idea of being respectful and courteous to one another. Usually this is not ever an issue because like the students that come to McCormick are great, and you guys are like serious about what you're doing. But ethics is always a course where we're discussing like some serious issues, some serious problems in our world today, some serious contentions about how we should behave and what is good and what is bad and what is right and what is wrong. And so like there can be contention. There can be disagreements. There can be very opposing viewpoints coming from different students or even from me. Though I would also caution you guys to keep in mind, when we're talking about one viewpoint one week, that's not ever going to be my personal viewpoint, just because we're just teaching material. But as we have these sorts of oppositional viewpoints, these sort of disagreements, we must always continue to be respectful and courteous to one another. Otherwise, how do you even have that conversation? If you can't have the conversation about what you think is best, then the whole concept of ethics is starting to fall away. It is my belief that with these principles, the students will gain knowledge in this course and learn a lot of material on the subject matter. You are being tasked to learn a lot of material. There's going to be, a dozen theories that we're looking at. Each one has its own particular viewpoints and their own historicity, their own people, their own timeline, and that's a lot of stuff to track. I firmly believe that you can do it and do it well. But it is a lot of material that we will be learning. So, it is my assumption that when a problem arises, the student will contact me via email. This too is equally important. It is going to be super crucial that if there are problems for any of you, whether it's getting the online course to work or you forgot to take a quiz or you didn't turn in an assignment or whatever else. One of the great issues that I find students having in an online course is that because you don't come in and see me on a regular basis, that the relationship between the student and teacher kind of remains nebulous or ethereal or disconnected, and so okay, you forget your assignments one week and well, shoot, I better not say anything, and then you forget them the next week, and then well, dang, now you start a trend, and then you go a month without doing any work, and now all of a sudden you're sitting at a D in the course and worried about having to fail out. You can kind of nip all that in the bud if the first time you have an issue, you just send me an email. Give me a chance to work with you. Give you a chance to work with me, so that we can stay on top of any of our problems that might come up. And this is good, this is bad, but I've had students that they've had real emergencies, real problems, and family illness, family death, and they're out for several weeks at a time, and then they come back and it's I haven't heard from you in 5 weeks, you haven't turned any assignments, and you missed a midterm, and I'm going to work with you, but if I'd known beforehand we could have done something better about it. Then now it's catch up on all your courses all at once. It's going to be the worst thing ever for you. It's going to be tough. So the earlier and more often you can contact me when situations arise, the better off you will be, the better off I will be. So there's plenty of time for each assignment, no reason not to complete the things. For all the talk about the amount of material we have, like I said, this is modeled after a regular in-class course, an in-class at McCormick course, and so don't really feel like anything we're asking in an online format is greater than what you would see in class. So there's going to be, no difficult. There might be difficulty depending on how busy you are, but it's not impossible to do this coursework. We're not making it overburdensome. It is also my assumption that students will make a great effort to work in this class, and that I will make the same great effort for them. So we talked about our textbook. Again, we're getting it through Red Shelf. So, whoa, I don't know what I just did there. Getting it through Red Shelf. So if you have any problems with that, shoot me an email. We'll try to work through them. I know this is only the second semester that we've had Red Shelf. So, maybe something will crop up, maybe not. So in terms of the class format, We will be having, again, expectation that you guys kind of just open up your email once a day. Maybe if it's just on the ride to work or on the ride to class, on your phones, just give it a check to see what's going on. And that way you'll know if there's anything special going on or any changes to the course curriculum. That way you can just be prepared for whatever may be going on. Though usually I will say that it's pretty rhythmic in terms of me getting up the content. I'm not going to be trying to throw in a lot of surprises. So you must have the minimum technology requirements, including access to internet and a computer. Now, we do have computers with access to internet at McCormick. So, like, if for some reason your computer breaks, you might have to make that trek once a week to come do all your things at once: your video lecture, your quizzes, your assignments, your discussion board. And if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do as a student to make sure you're succeeding in the class. But it will never be an acceptable excuse, unfortunately, that my computer broke, I cannot do the coursework. Because each of you can go up to McCormick and or even maybe to a local library and get access to the computer and an internet. You must be able to work independently and complete assignments within its specified time frame. You must be proficient at using a computer with email. We won't have to do any scanning of documents, though there may be an occasional file attachments if we have to do anything through email. Yes, we do need you guys to actively be using your McCormick email. Occasionally I get a few people that sign up to McCormick and they're with like a Yahoo email or something. Just make sure that you transition over to your McCormick email, because that's where your stuff will be going in terms of like announcements. So you want to be using your McCormick email for all of you that are newer students. Again, time management, active participation. If you guys are reading this, you've already gotten your course introduction email. Again, we've kind of touched on all this. There are going to be several things, 5 things that are done weekly, and that's a video lecture like this. Normally they're going to be an hour long or so. This one is a little bit briefer because we are doing our just kind of syllabus day. We have our assignments, which, like I said, they're going to be short essays, kind of just addressing cultural issues, political issues that are tying back into the theories. Sometimes I might ask you to watch a short video. Sometimes I might ask you to read a short article. So we're going to have a little bit of extra stuff to do on the assignments each week. Our discussion board, which I showed you guys already, so you'll be able to know where it is. Quizzes and tests, like I said, we're going to see those next week, and then we'll also have the announcements. After the assigned time, the assignment will not be accepted for credit. That's one of the things about this course. Like, we have a full week to do every single little assignment. So, like, if you wait until Sunday night, because everything's going to be due Sunday night at midnight. If you wait until Sunday night at 11:50, and then all of a sudden nothing is working and you can't send me an assignment, and then you email me, can I get this in late? I'm going to have to say, well, no, you can't submit that late. You'll just have to do it next week. Do the next one next week, and you're just going to have to take the 0 for this assignment. Time management is going to be one of the important things for you guys to look at. And I know, like the way an online course normally goes is content goes up on Monday, and then, on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, maybe I'll get a couple people submitting stuff, and then like 75% of my class submits everything between 11 o'clock and midnight on Sunday. And as a teacher, okay, well, I guess, Maybe we all had crazy busy weeks, or we're just kind of cramming it all in at the last minute. I fear is sometimes it's more of cramming it all in at the last minute. And so if we do that, what we're not going to be able to do is turn things in late. Because with the inevitable, I was trying to get that done and I couldn't submit it on time. Well, you had a full week. You had 7 days to do a 5-minute quiz. And it's terrible and tragic that you didn't get it done on time, but you're still going to take that 0 for that grade if you do not do them before the quiz disappears. Because again, at the end of the day, there is copious amounts of time to get the work in. So make sure we're being timely with approaching our assignments. Don't fall into the trap of being the student that says, all right, it's 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, I better start doing all my work. Because that is a bad place to be. I hate being that doting lecturer. I'm sorry. We have a pretty standard just grade scale here. Just use whatever the McCormick official one is. So, in terms of the breakdown of grades, our midterm and our final are worth 20%. Everything else is worth 15%. Participation includes our discussion board, as well as showing up and sending emails if you're gonna disappear for a little bit for whatever reason. Assignments are the weekly assignments. We'll have one paper, which will be due at the end of the semester, and we will talk about that in detail after the midterm. The weekly quizzes are 15%, and our 2 big tests are 20%. So it's a pretty standard breakdown there. We have a little bit about our participation here that you guys are more than welcome to read. What I want us to discuss before we look at our weekly outline is plagiarism. Because plagiarism is a kind of real problem, I feel like it needs to be addressed. There are several different forms of plagiarism, some of which, could be outright fraud, where it's I got my best friend to write my paper, then I put my name on it, where none of it is yours. And I've seen that before. I've seen people, find an article online and copy and paste the entire thing and try to turn it into me. So let me try to see if I can. I doubt that this will show up because it's actually on a document that's mine, which hasn't been published anywhere. Yeah. So, oh yeah, because we pulled this from another plagiarism statement. So, when I read something from a student, all I have to do is pull the sentence out and say, well, that doesn't sound like them. That doesn't sound right in this context, or this is just a little askew. And I Google it, and I find where it comes from. Let me, there's going to be a great temptation when you're taking the midterm, and I ask you questions about the Enlightenment period. Excuse me. Age of Enlightenment. When I ask you about the Enlightenment period, for people to come here and say okay, well, this is what the Enlightenment was, and hit copy, and then paste it onto their test. And I've literally seen this. Wikipedia is a great place for you to look up information, but not a great place for you to copy information, because it's immediately searchable. Immediately searchable. And the Google search will pull it up right away. And so anything you copy straight from Wikipedia will be something that is kind of, wholly exposed in a very quick and concise manner. So, make sure in a digital format, I know it's easy to fall into the temptation of saying, well, I can plagiarize and get away with it. but my Google foo is strong. I will find things if you go that route. So the alternative is if you're struggling to get an assignment done and you have emailed me and maybe my help wasn't just what you were looking for, the alternative is to turn to CAPE. It's for those of you that are new, it's a place where there's tutoring, there's assistance for the students, there's workshops, activities. It's a great place where you can go in McCormick to just actually get some support. So if you need help and you need help now and you need help in person, you should be going to CAPE. CAPE is a great place. Alright, so the last thing we're going to look at is our weekly schedule. As you can see, there's kind of like a pretty straightforward breakdown of what my expectations are for the week. This week I want you guys to read chapter 1, next week chapter 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6. You notice after chapter 6 we start jumping just a little, and then we're going to be skipping a handful of chapters actually, because we're going to be kind of hitting on, there's only a certain amount of time that we have every week, so we cannot cover everything. But the chapters for each week will be there, and we do have our midterm on week 8, halfway through October, and then our final will be the last week. Our paper is going to be the due the Sunday before the final week. So, and again, we'll be talking about that right after the midterms. So, I think that's it in terms of what content we need to cover for today and this week. You guys are going to be responsible this week for going to our discussion board and introducing yourself. There is no assignment. There is no quiz. Starting next week, we will have an assignment, a quiz, discussion board topic, and a video lecture. So make sure that we're coming here and we are looking at this. So I hope you guys all take care and have a great week.